Talking about relationship. Talking about love your spouse. Joke in the background. Got my wife. She ain't gonna make a sound. Now I'm on. Hello everybody. Hello world. This is Jeffrey Allen Stokes, the one and only. I come from a small city called Columbus, Mississippi, and now I live in Georgia. Came a long way in my life. I just want to sit here and give this video. It's about 12:41 a.m. I've just gotten off one of my jobs. I want to post a video about loving your spouse. They can go both ways, loving your wife or wife loving your husband. But I'm going to talk about loving my wife and how, you should love how married men should love their wives. I just got married. I'm a newbie, man. I just got started with this thing. But this right here, there's one thing that kept me in line. I'm going to say this. This is like a little joke I had. There's one thing I tell my wife. The only thing that kept us together kept me from staying with her. Excuse my laugh because I just like to keep it humorous. Is that the grace of God? That's it. Because my last served and walked out the door a long time ago. I know that's a little bit over the top, but still, that's real. God keeps these things together. We're not going to take anything away from Him. He's been good. The whole 5 years we've been together, He's allowed us to see many things and experience many things and go through the good and the bad and the ups and downs and the sad and happy times, and we got to give Him for that. We got to give it up to Him for that. Excuse me. So I like to give Him praise first all the time during my marriage because He's the one that held together. But also another thing is this book called For Married Men Only by Dr. Reverend Tony Evans. It says 3 principles for loving your wife. You see it? Right there. Where am I? Right there. For Married Men Only. Excellent book. Wonderful book. This is a lot of every married man, every man who's engaged, every man who's in a relationship should think about getting this if they're going to move forward. And those who are at that step right now of just getting married, you're a newbie, you should read this book several times, refer back to it daily, weekly, monthly, however you read. But also, those who've been in the game 20, 30 years, read this book. It's going to give you a refresher. You know how you've been on the computer all day long? If this example, you've been on the computer all day long, and sometimes it don't want to work right. It's slow. It moves slow. And sometimes it doesn't have that same speed it did when you first bought it. You have to do what? Refresh it. That means you have to refresh. You have to start kind of over a little bit. You have to, start from where you left off, and let's try this way. That's what this book has in it. It has a refresh for those who've been in the game 30, 40 years and think they know everything. You don't know everything because you haven't read this book. It's a great book. So big ups to Tony Evans. What I'm talking about tonight, this morning, brother, is number one, loving your spouse. What I like to do is I like to tell my wife simple things like she's beautiful. I like to tell her what she means to me. I like to tell her how lucky and how blessed I am to have her in my life. I like to send her text messages here and there, and I like to give her breakfast in bed and things like that. Just small, simple things. I like to spend quality time with her. We just shut off the TV, shut off the phones, shut off the internet, the computers, and no music. We just talk. I like those moments. I like just simply holding her at night. Those are just simple things you can do. It doesn't cost anything, and there's no problem. You just do it. Those are the things that you just do. A woman she likes action, so she likes for you to, not only tell her how you feel, but she wants you to show it. One way of doing that is simply giving flowers. If you have a woman who every woman doesn't like flowers, but who cares? Give them flowers anyway. It's a thought that counts. And if you mean it and she's sincere about it, she's going to love them. If she doesn't like flowers, she's going to start loving flowers then. Listen to the words. If she doesn't like flowers at all, she's going to start loving flowers once you give them because you don't do it. She don't get them off. So it's a new thing. That's the part of the refresh button that I was talking about. But the other thing is, surprise her for something at work, or something like, bringing some nice lunch or something, or bringing flowers to work. Pick up a card or something. Just slip it in the door at the job. Or bringing it. She loves it. Another thing is women like to be surprised and they love being wooed around a whole bunch of other people so they can see what they have at home. And it's like, ooh, my husband, he don't do this and he don't, or my boyfriend, he don't do this right here. But your husband brought you flowers. What you do, argue? No, you don't have to get into an argument to do these things. You just do it because it's love. The name of this topic was how to love your spouse. So that's one thing you should do. You don't have to get into an argument to tell them that to send them flowers. Just do it. That's just one thing. Do it in front of a crowd and give a nice gift or something. Like a purse or shoes. Or, it could be a gift card or something. One of my favorite spots. I say the gift cards because if I go there and get something, she don't like it. She's gonna have my head. She's gonna do it, take it back anyway. I like to keep it humorous because that's how it is. I know my wife, she's picky. But anyway, my thing is, another thing that you can do is you can plan a nice evening. You don't have to tell her nothing in advance. You don't have to do nothing. Just make sure that it's open and she's available, and you're available and you guys can plan something and you can take her on something like a nice picnic or something. Depending on, time of the year or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just take it like on a nice boat ride, or a nice horse and carriage ride, or you guys do a nice dinner or something. Don't just do the normal, go to Chili's tonight. Come on now. Everybody goes to Chili's. You take the one that you just have to do the one night stand with the Chili's, and y'all share some ribs. But the thing is, you take your wife to somewhere where you put some thought into it. You take it to a nice candlelit place, or you take it to a nice live entertainment place, or you take it to somewhere that she's never been before, or you've never been. I wonder what that noise is. But things like that, they appreciate it. They appreciate it. They love it, and those are called creating memorable moments and memorable events. So do that. I challenge you, fellas. Do that. It will make that's part of hitting that refresh button in your relationship, in your marriage. You want to do those things. Another thing is, surprise your wife with things like tickets to a show or something, to a nice play, or to a nice. Pay attention to what she likes. Well, you should know your wife married. So you shouldn't be no surprise. Like I didn't know you like that. You mean you know you like it? You married me, didn't you? So she's gonna be looking at you crazy if you don't know what she likes. I know everything what my wife likes. I know what she doesn't like. I know that it takes a lot of time to know somebody, but I know the basics. I know the things. I know enough to get, to make her happy. And that's the whole thing. That's all you're trying to do is to make her happy and fulfill that moment, and keep her satisfied. Another thing is, small gifts. You can give gifts or something. Whatever her preference is. It can be clothes. It can be candy. It can be flowers. It can be ticket somewhere. It can be something. Oh, this is a good one here. This is a real good one, fellas. This is the one, the icing on the cake. Icing on the cake. And a lot of married couples don't do this no more. They don't do this no more. They don't plan. They don't surprise their spouse with a nice vacation, a nice getaway out of the country. Woo! I hit a button right there. I said out of the country. That means passport. Go to the post office, get your passport. I don't care what paperwork you got to fill out. Get it. It's right. It's worth it. Trust me. You go up. She has or you have an out of country experience. You would. It's like none of it. It's like none of it. So that's the thing. That's the thing. That's what you want to do. Do something like a nice cruise. It could be something like a cruise or something intimate where you guys are going to, take her out on a nice, if you got money, get that long money like we do. You can take on a nice plane ride, private jet to a whole other city or something. I say it out of the country, but it's like a trip thing. But it's something like Fiji. Fiji. Look at the water over there. The water is a whole different type of color. It's like blue-green. Blue-green means exotic. I said we're going to keep it current around here. That means laughter. Laughter is good for the soul. Well, it's medicine for the soul. Anyway. Yeah, somewhat like Fiji. Nice exotic place. Well, you don't go often. And the reason I say this is Because couples get in this, marital couples get in this whole rut. They get in this, they get complacent and they get comfortable with each other. That you sit around on weekends. You have a wonderful nest. And when I say nest, I mean like you have a good job, when you have good businesses, you're doing real good financially. You're debt free. You have little debt. You know, and you can afford these things. You're taking your wife to Applebee's and Shoney's and all this stuff, man. Come on, wake up. Let's go to IHOP and eat breakfast. We with it. We going to IHOP to eat omelet, old omelet and old pancakes. No, don't take your wife there. That's cool for when you leave the club with your fellas. But let's go somewhere nice. Let's go eat breakfast. Let's go to Miami and eat breakfast. Ain't nothing wrong with it though. But at the same time, let's change it up. Sometimes, you want to get out of that same old average thing. Ain't nothing wrong with going to Shoney's. Don't get me wrong. I like Shoney's. I like IHOP. I like all that. Depending on that. The part on it. Depending on the fiance. Don't be no fiance. Don't. Depend on now finances. Oh, depend on your finances. Oh, yeah. Get me this other bottle because I'm all over the place anyway. My video, I can say, do what I want to do. Anyway, whatever. And we keep it moving. Bottom line is, like my wife always say, step it up, fellas. I'm challenging you to step the game up. You've been to Applebee's, Shoney's, and all those places. You've been in those places. Get your money up, man. And God has put you in a situation where you have an idea. Let that thing come into fruition, man. He'll make that thing happen for you. He put that vision and that idea in your mind, and he allowed you to see something that was already created and something that you were able to tap into for a reason. So I challenge you to challenge yourself. Go somewhere you've never been before, and I don't mean a place. I mean with yourself. Change yourself. Be a different man. Be a different woman, ladies, and do more for yourself and do something different and deny yourself so that you can, do the things for your spouse that you want to do later on. So you can take those trips to Fiji on a private jet, or you can take those, on a private plane, or just a trip, period. Or if you can just take your spouse out to dinner to Los Angeles and you live in North Carolina or something. I don't know. Or you live in Mississippi. I don't care. You want to take a private jet from there to Los Angeles to eat dinner. That's big, man. That's something different. A lot of people don't do that today. They're blaming on something called a recession. Nobody cares about no recession. And we ain't in one because people still making money. But, so what you have insufficiency of funds? Make the funds sufficient. Change your lifestyle, That way you can, let me tell you something. I don't want to, just talk about money the whole time, but I do want to say that money does change things. It helps things run a lot smoother when you have it. And then the thing is, when you have it and everything's taken care of, your family's taken care of, and you're doing well, you can make these things happen, man. But another thing is, besides that big thing of the trip for your wife or your husband, just put away time for them. That's the most important thing. Time. Just give them time. You don't give them time, they can't give you nothing. You can't be at work 90 hours a week and expect your wife to have your dinner all the time and want to make love to you, or do all these things for you, wait on you hand and foot, when you've been out of her life for a whole month almost. That's a lot of hours, 90 hours a week. You're working all these hours, you're bringing home the bacon, but the thing is, you ain't able to eat the bacon. Because the thing is, you always working. As soon as you come home, a few more hours, you got to go back to your other little job. But it's just it's important to create something where you give time to your wife. What I like to do is, that's one thing I like to do. Me and my wife have a date night every Friday. Every Friday's our date night. I don't care where we go out to eat. We go to a jazz spot. We go to a nice lounge, or we go do something, go to the movie or something, or whether we out on a vacation or something. We gonna have our date night because that's our night. You have to understand, when you have a spouse, make sure that they get that time they deserve. Make sure that you didn't get married and say those vows, and then take it for granted. A year or two down the road, say my wife don't need that much, or my husband don't require that much. It don't matter what they require. That's probably the problem now. They didn't require enough for you, so you barely rolled over and got them, and threw them all kind of mess, and they married your butt. And then now you're sitting here saying, well, I ain't getting much to keep you, so I got to, I ain't getting much to get you, so I guess I ain't got to do it to keep you. Wrong. Change the whole game. Hit the refresh button, man. Start that relationship over. Become a new man, and ladies, become a new woman. Do something like simple, like if you're having problems with as far as if you want to change your appearance around each other, go to the gym together. Go run around, or what you call it. It's a big thing. That's cut down on heart disease. Work out together, fellas. Get your chest right. Also, go to church together. Number one, go to church together, man. Get into your church, Bible-based teaching church, and have that time together, because you need that. You're going to need that, because you're going to hit some bumps in that road, man. And you're going to be so close to calling her, and she's going to be so close to knocking you upside your head with a pan, and you're going to be so close to both y'all walking out. So you're going to have to go to church. You're going to have God in that thing, because if you don't have God in that thing, I'm telling you, you ain't going to be able to take no trip nowhere. You ain't going to be able to have no dinner nowhere. I don't care if it is Shoney's for $6.99. I don't care where it is. You ain't gonna be able to take a road trip. But what I'm saying is, treat your women and your husband, ladies, treat your husband with respect, and act as if they're a gem and a jewel that God has given you that nobody else has. And know that at any point in time you can lose them, whether something can happen to them and they leave this earth, or you can just lose them to somebody else. It may not be, sexually, but it can be emotionally. It can be conversation-wise. It can be, this person here, I like talking to them because they own somebody and you not. I like what they own and you not. You got to think about it. It's tough, man. Marriage is really hard because number one, it's doing right by God, and God, He honors that and He's favored. The Bible says, when the man finds a wife, when the man finds a wife, he finds a great thing, and he's also favored. He's favored because he has that. He has that thing that God has wanted him to have, and he's obedient. Another thing is, hope I ain't finna forget what I'm finna say, because I just had lost my train of thought right there for one moment. Let's see. Another thing I was finna say is that what you need to also do is do simple stuff like this. Take your wife on a spot. Take her to a spot. Y'all get couples massages together. Do those things together. You know what I'm saying? Do those nice things. A lot of men don't do that. I don't know why, but they need to do it. Women like spa. They like being pampered. So you gotta understand. You gotta treat each other as if you are. This is your last. What you call it? When he wrapped up. Okay. I'm gonna catch you on the next tune, man. It's been real. Couples, I love you. God bless you. Keep giving God praise and keep on loving your wives, and wives, keep on loving your husband. Till next time, Mr. Stokes is out. I'm a musician too, baby. I'll be on the drums. Y'all peace out, man. Love y'all.